cause it to like speed up. But mostly around the Earth, gravity pulls things down. So
you're just lying to this child, correct?
At a distance.
Yeah.
That the way the old-fashioned inverse square force law describes it. The way the old-fashioned inverse square force law describes it.
Yep. The old-fashioned inverse force law describes it. The old-fashioned force? What? The one that you just told the last two children about, and we were outraged that you would lie to them.
Gravity pulls things down.
That old-fashioned force. So it's old-fashioned when she reaches higher education, but it's not old-fashioned when you're telling it to children.
Gravity pulls things down.
Old-fashioned inverse square force law.
You're a witch. Yeah, back in the day you'd be burned. That's all there is to it.
I'm a physics major.
So from your perspective, how would you describe gravity?
I'm taught that it's a force. It's described by inverse law, but I also know that it's a field. And there's a recent discovery with like gravitational waves, although I don't know like the specific details of about that.
So when you say it's an inverse square law, that means that the closer you are, the more strongly you feel the gravitational pull.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. There's very few things that are stronger when you're further apart.
Yeah.
What, like, so the pull on a gas molecule is not as strong.
I was just thinking the same thing. Since gases are produced at the surface of the Earth, how do they ever go anywhere if gravity is real?
Much stronger, according to the inverse square law.
So you can also think of a gravitational field, something that permeates all of space. Even though the Earth is 3 stories below us, it's not as though it's pulling at us from a distance, right? We're actually interacting with the field at this point, and there's a real interaction right here at this point. And that's
What interaction is she talking about exactly? Go on,
With the
Adam.
field. Well, I'm just saying, what kind of interactions do you have with fields? And then more importantly, we're now in a field. No evidence. We've just gone from this spooky action at a distance to what Chinese Velma said. I know it's a field. Because at the start, she says, I was taught it's a force, but I know it's a field. So I'm assuming from that language, that's what it's now going to be reified as, or maybe not even explained, maybe, but just described moving forward as.
Yeah, I find that slant at her origins a bit low blow, you know, as a Korean Jewish transgender woman.
Chinese Velma, she looks just like the runner of Mystery Inc., mate.
That's nice because people were worried that if
Maybe I'll give you that a little bit.
it was acted at a distance, that the way the old-fashioned inverse square force law describes it, that it was as spooky as like...
Whoa. Old-fashioned? What now? Has she already just thrown what she told the other 2 kids under the bus? Did I just miss that subtlety there?
I think so.
Just play the last 5 seconds.
Mind that the way the old-fashioned inverse square force law describes it.
Yep, the old-fashioned inverse force law describes it. The old-fashioned force? What? The one that you just told the last 2 children about, and we were outraged that you would lie to them? That old-fashioned force. So it's old-fashioned when she reaches higher education, but it's not old-fashioned when you're telling it to children. Then it's definitely true. You're a witch. Yeah, back in the day you'd be burned. That's all there is to it. You're a liar too. You're a scumbag. You're a deceitful witch. So you've literally laid it out really subtly here that what was disseminated to the 2 previous children as being fact is an actually old-fashioned, out-of-date force law. Yeah, isn't that amazing? Yeah, it's more than happy to confess to it in the same video. Shout out to Godzilla37, who says, Chinese Thelma, I knew there was a reason I got up this morning, and there it is. I mean, fair enough if that's pleased you as much as it pleased Adam.
What was it that I used to call it? Old and busted?
Yep.
That's basically what she just called it.
She just put a tramp stamp on it, Chocolate. She's called it antiquated.
We already have a tramp step or at the 6-minute 25-second
But
mark.
mostly around the Earth, gravity pulls things down. So
you're just lying to this child, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Just
Didn't she say something about it not acting at a distance? How does something that doesn't act at a distance pull things down to earth?
yeah.
Because
You're
it's
right.
now a field. You're now in a field.
Can't be a field.
Didn't say it was. I'm saying she's saying she's now in a field.
Well,
Therefore-
it can't be a field because Einstein said there are no gravitational fields.
Oh, that'll be the next level.
Field that's really
Well,
describing a curve.
is the student she a Pittsburgh Steeler fan?
Why?
Why?
No, don't ask
Black
him
and
why.
gold.
Shut up, Adam.
Better.
He's already asked now.
I know. Sorry. Come on, QE.
I already told you. Look at her dress, black and gold.
Of course.
If you ever lay your hand on a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, I think you'll finally understand.
I understand now. Thank you so much.
Curved space-time
welcome.
that is everywhere. Forget the difficulty of the math. Just the intuition comes from two kind of simple observations. One was what Einstein described as the happiest thought of his
Oh, sorry. It comes from observations of something that Einstein thought. Double speak much? Contradict yourself much? Make no sense at all much? So how's she going to observe a thought Einstein had?
life.
Is that
So-
one of the simple observations? As simple as looking at the mind of Einstein?
So right now, you might feel heavy in your chair, and we might feel heavy on the floor in our feet.
You might. What do you mean, might? I don't feel anything. I'm just sat in my chair. I don't feel heavy. I mean, I'm a bit of a fatty at the moment, but I don't feel heavy. You know? I'm just sat here.
Or standing in an
Hang
elevator
on,
cab.
Nathan, hang on. This is already implanting something in someone's mind that they weren't at all thinking about it, but now because of the authority level, oh yeah, I do feel a little heavy now that you said that.
Let's just spoil it for her. Gravity's weight. That's all it is. It's just them describing weight of things in air. That's all it is. Might as well just cut through the crap straight away.
And Einstein would have said, well, what does the chair have to do with it? Or the floor? Or the elevator? Those aren't gravitational objects.
Oh, well, they're not. I see. What's a gravitational object? I see. So Einstein looked around whilst deciding how to prove unicorns' validity. And he looked at the chair and he looked at the table. And he said, they're not unicorn objects. Yeah, you're right. They're not. Wow, that's profound.
And so he wanted to eliminate them. And one way to do
Really? He wanted to eliminate chairs and tables because they weren't. What the hell? If I was sat in front of her listening to this shit, my eyebrows would definitely be raised. Why did Einstein want to eliminate non-gravitational chairs and tables exactly? What purpose did this serve? After I've obviously physically looked inside his mind, of course, because that's the simplest way of doing this, physically.
the thought experiment is to imagine standing in an elevator
Why? Why would I do that? I could go and stand in an elevator if I need to.
that you can't see out of a black box.
Well,
Oh.
Objection.
Go on.
just in
Objection.
relation. Sorry, Tony.
Objection. What's a thought experiment?
Same objection. And what use and application does it have to the structure of reality?
Oh, it's the opposite. It's not to construct a version of reality. It's in order to indoctrinate you with nonsense about the world you don't live in. So it's very useful to get somebody into the conceptual realm. Very, very useful. Conceptual
What do you-
experiments are entirely the premise of this magic trick, in fact.
Mathematization of Einstein's happiest thought is what I'm hearing. Is all they've gone away and done.
Is the Einstein's happiest thought the IV in the thought experiment that can change?
It's one of the simplest ways to do it physically. Shout out to Jardo. Says, this video is so disturbing in so many inexplicable ways. It's sick. It's like watching children getting groomed. I have to turn the volume down. I've got to be honest, Jardo. That's why I encourage everybody to share the show right at the start. And you can probably hear it in my voice. You know, at some point, I'm going to lose my shit today. I can just feel it coming because of the outrage. I can feel my blood boiling. And I completely agree with you. It is sickening to watch. Go on, Adam.
I feel the same way. That's how I felt yesterday when we started. I don't know if you heard. There were a couple times I started actually getting upset just listening to this lady talk to these kids. Really disgusting, to be honest.
It is. And this is the world that we stand in opposition against. This brainwashing, this indoctrination, this grooming, as Jardot puts it, very well put. Yeah, this is what we stand in opposition to and are being censored for exposing.
Why is she still talking about Einstein? She started off with gravitational fields.
Oh, because
But according to general theory of relativity, there are no gravitational fields. This is doublespeak nonsense.
it's because at this stage of this particular student's career, educational career, they're at a halfway house between physical forces of gravity in the Newtonian hijacking, actually CV Boys, Reverend John Michelle Cavendish gravity, versus the new nonsense, new hotness, as Chocolate describes it, of Einsteinian. So they've got a swift segue when she essentially just disavowed the force she'd indoctrinated the other two children with right at the start. But like I say, this particular stage of the brainwashing that's being disseminated to us by Wired and this Wired witch is just where they are at in this indoctrination process. That's why the double speak is thick in this one. Yoda.
I think it's necessary when you're transitioning from an older point to a newer point to put in those words. Even though John just said Einstein doesn't even agree with Fields, she's putting it in prior to moving to Einstein.
Exactly.
And imagine the cable is cut and you in the elevator begin to fall.
So we've got the younger child imagining that they're in a conceptual medium that's with no reference in terms of speed or distance relative to anything else. And then suddenly that particular student was in a car hurtling towards another car. Now this student, as she glances up and imagines being in a black box sensory deprivation chamber that's an elevator that now has her hurtling towards her imminent death. Yet she's a witch. That's what she's doing. She's using the death cell. It's a technique used by marketers and advertisers to scare the crap out of you into buying something. What's being sold? Heliocentrism. How's it being sold? With the death cell. That's precisely what's being done.
So in free fall?
You're in total free.
Yeah, you're about to die. That's right. She's just told you, imagine dying. Yeah? Because that'll perk you up. That'll release quite a few useful chemicals, getting you ready and primed for what she's about to tell you.
Free fall. Now, because things fall at the same rate,
Yeah.
including the elevator and you,
Yeah.
you can actually float in the elevator. If you just floated in the elevator, the two of you would.
So now imagine flying. Yeah, all those scary chemicals flowing around your brain. Now imagine the phenomenal sensation of being a bird. Isn't that amazing? That's gravity, isn't it? Magic. Yeah, can you feel that fuzzy sensation? Maybe the hairs on the back of your arm are standing up. What do you reckon, love? Yeah?
would drop. And you might not even know you're falling. You could take an apple and drop it in
Let me get it straight. She's in an elevator. The line's been cut. You're telling me she doesn't know she's falling.
Unbelievable.
Now she doesn't know. Go on.
I'm sorry, Nathan. That was so unbelievable. What a nonsense.
Yeah, it's outrageous,
Got to
isn't
take
it?
people out of reality, man. It's the same thing she did to the other little girl yesterday. Oh, you're in a train, but it's moving. The girl knows how a train works, but she's gonna make it seem like she doesn't. Same thing here. Oh, you're in an elevator that got cut. You won't even know you're moving. These people are like crackheads, man. I don't understand.
And she
It's
said all
crazy.
things fall at the same rate, didn't she? Did she say all things fall at the same rate?
Yes.
Can she show that?
It's conceptually, if you were to challenge her. Well, no,
Oh.
we're just doing a thought experiment, John, would be a response.
in front of you, and it would float in front of you. You would actually experience weightlessness. It's called the equivalence principle. It was Einstein's happiest thought that what you're really doing when you're experiencing gravity isn't being heavy in your chair, it's falling weightlessly in the gravitational field.
Wrong.
It was his happiest thought.
And that was the first step, to think of gravity as weightlessness and falling.
I know.
So, as opposed to thinking of it as a force that holds you to the ground like she lied to the other children with, in contrast, because that's out-of-date old-fashioned forces that she lied to the other children with, now you think about gravity as though you're falling. Can I just point it out to the witch? She's not falling! Do you see that when she sat in the chair that you described in Einstein's happiest thoughts that he wants to obliterate? Yeah, she ain't doing that. But when she is falling, because obviously she spends the predominant part of her life falling, doesn't she now? That's what most people are falling all the time. When you're next doing that, love, yeah, that's gravity. When you realise that you're not doing anything when you're falling, because conceptually you don't even know you're moving when you're falling. You know, remember I told you didn't even know you were falling? Next time you're falling, know that you're not knowing that you're falling, and then realise that that's gravity. We all clear? Not the old-fashioned force holding you to the ground, but the force of you falling and not realising it. Everybody clear? Which?
No, like zero gravity experiences are done.
Those zero gravity. When have you had those, my love? Those zero gravity experiences? No, it wasn't an experience. You had the death cell. You released quite a few chemicals. Then you had the levity of the idea of you flying. And then you described to her your gravitational, non-gravitational floating experiences that you haven't had. Yeah, it's a clever programming and brainwashing technique that has literally got you describing being in non-gravity. Yeah, flying. Are you flying, love? No, you've just been brainwashed by a witch. Yeah, a very clever one. Let's be honest. Shout out to Original D-Rose. He says, just to say it in all shouty caps, her imagination taking a poop out of a helicopter hovering 1,000 feet. The turd strikes a pigeon, startles the pigeon, making the pigeon poop. Hence, both poop turds strike a car equals double gravity. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Maybe left the all caps.
That's the third time I heard that joke today.